Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As we welcome you once again on this Wednesday evening. It's Wednesday nights with myself, Inayet Wadee. And again, we obviously looking at a number of issues that impact on society in general, and also looking at some of the other issues that we normally tackle with our panel discussion. Now, the major talking point at this point in time has been the Hello Darling saga that has been playing out for the last few weeks. And the latest update has been close on to 400 complaints that have been received. And we're talking of to the tune of so close to 32 million. We're talking about Taslim Musa. We're talking about the scam that is taking place. And we've heard so much with regard to influencers, whistleblowers, and also we've had certain prominent people that have been at the forefront of trying to uncover or unpack what has actually happened. So, as we welcome our listeners and viewers on the various platforms of Salam Media this evening, we're going to try and unpack. We're going to be talking to Qureisha Suleiman very, very shortly. And also, we're talking to a number of victims. And we know for far too long, we've seen so much happen over the years where people have been scammed. But this appears to be one of the biggest in recent times. We are talking millions of rands where people have been scammed out of holiday packages and the like. And this evening, we're going to be joined by a number of people. As I mentioned, we've got some of them who have basically, who will be coming forward. Qureisha Suleiman being a whistleblower. We've got a sister Zakira, who is based in Durban. She says she was a Hello Darlings victim. We've got a Naima Karolia based in Benoni, another victim as well. We've got Tashriq out of Cape Town, another victim. And from what we have learned, that there are basically hundreds of people, and with all the complaints that have basically been lodged, we're talking of, as of today, close on to 400 victims have sent through their documents. The figure at this point in time has surpassed 32 million rand. And it is indeed very, very sad that we have this behavior or this pattern that is evolving at this point in time. And together with people like Yusuf Abramji and the team, this trend obviously needs to stop because people have been conned, people have been scammed of their hard-earned money. And at the same time, we need to be aware. We need to create awareness. We need to educate people. We need to make sure that crimes like these are reported, and people who are involved in these type of scams need to be stopped in their tracks. And this is the reason why we are talking to Croatia this evening, and the message that has come through. And I've seen a number of tweets that have come through with regard to Croatia as well, in terms of blowing the whistle on these type of crimes. So without much ado, we're going to go across to be joined by Croatia Ismail Suleiman this evening. Croatia, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah, and thank you, Inayet, for asking me to be here tonight with you.
Yes. Now, Croatia, obviously, this has been one of the biggest scams that has hit our community in the last few weeks. It has become a major talking point. And I've seen a number of comments that you've made. I've seen a number of tweets that have come through. And clearly, this is not acceptable because people obviously parting with their hard earned money, scammed in the manner that they have. And at the end of it all, uh, the biggest concern is sometimes the perpetrators actually get away with this. And we've seen it's become such a major issue, it's become a major talking point. And just to kick off and just to get your thoughts, because the message that has come through is, you've been one of the whistleblowers. You felt very, very strongly. You've made some very, very strong comments. I've seen some of your tweets as well, Croatia.
I just felt that it was, as soon as I heard about it, I was the first, I think I was one of the first, maybe the first person to put it out on Twitter to say that, this is what has happened. I've realized that with our community for the longest time, we kind of keep things, hushed up and under the carpet. And I felt that this was wrong because if you consider the amount of people who, I mean, let's put this in context. People have been under lockdown for close to 2 years. People didn't go anywhere. Things were difficult. Families were constrained. Many said that we hadn't done anything for the last 2 years. Let's put our money together. Let's give ourselves a little bit of a good holiday. It's an opportunity to travel. Umrah was closed, and so many people decided to travel. And Hello Darlings had a track record. She has taken people. People have been besides the influencers. There were families, friends. Somebody knew somebody who had been. So it seemed legitimate, and people put their trust in her at a time when many people were having a very difficult time. And that's why I am so angry, because you've taken advantage of people at a time when they are most vulnerable. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's a Muslim thing, and this is disgusting because in the last few months there have been a few scandals. You're aware of them: the Amanat, the cryptocurrency. I mean, like, something wrong. Have Muslims become worse than everybody else? We've totally lost our moral compass, our ethical compass here, and scamming people out of money for what? Like, I mean, how many millions can you actually spend? So I mean, you can only have one house, one car, you can only eat so much food, and then your stomach is full. So what is it necessary to do this to people? And most of the people, when I started seeing these things coming together, you realize that these are ordinary working folk, young couples, husband and wife, who working, put together money, fathers who decided, that we haven't been on a holiday for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Let's put our money together and go. So it was, to me, it's absolutely nauseating, and I'm really angry. I feel that, whatever happens, that people who have been affected by this must not be shy, must not be embarrassed. You did it in good faith. You approached somebody in good faith, and you went out and you got a package for yourself. And the fact that this has been scammed from you, that it's been stolen from you, and this woman, say what you want, she's a blatant liar, and that makes her more evil because she's even used her family, her own children. She's playing the victim card. She has no shame about using her family, and putting their lives in danger. So, something like this. Anybody who's been affected by this, come forward, put your name, get a case, and we must make sure that we can do everything possible to try and get her, to bring her to book. More importantly, is that she must be criminally charged.
Yes. Now, obviously, just looking at the numbers, and at this point in time, we're talking about what 400 people that have come forward, and we know this problem is much bigger than it actually seems. We're already talking about a figure of 32 million rand. So this is no small money we're talking about. And also at the same time, when we're looking at some of your comments that have come through, and I know you've come very, very strongly, and one of your tweets where you speak about Tez Musa being a swindler, and also, looking at it from the very onset, when she had basically started off this travel business, for want of a better term, we knew that there were problems right up front. And looking at some of the excuses that have come through, things like cash flow issues and all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, if you are managing something of this magnitude, if you are talking about millions and millions, at the end of the day, you need to make sure that, when it comes to satisfying the needs of the customers, satisfying the needs of those that obviously wanted to travel with her as well, that you need to be above board. You need to make absolutely sure that you are able to run a professional business and not run into a situation and then hide behind excuses with things like cash flows and all sorts of things, Qureisha.
No, this is all lies. The cash flows, all of that is lies. Let's just cut through the smoke screen, okay? Let's look at the first letter that she released. The letter says that she started a business. Her initial one was a trip to Turkey. She took some woman. She ran a 40,000 rand loss. She realized that she hadn't marketed her package as well, and so she had to start again, and she borrowed some money. Okay, so you start by borrowing 40,000 rands. But surely at that point, when you realize that you have, that you run into a loss, your next package, you calculate more carefully, you work more systematically. And the first thing you do is you repay back 40,000 rands, right? And she could, because she had the numbers, she was getting the clients, she could have easily paid back that money in a very short time frame. The second thing is listen to her comments. She says that, the letter was leaked. You have my bank statements. The bank statements were leaked, so you can see there's no money. It's obvious she wanted us to see that bank statement, the FNB bank statement that everybody has. But she's not showing you the other accounts. There definitely is other accounts, because I've been through the bank statements from February 2021. No, sorry, I'm lying. From July 2021 up to February 2022. If you look at those statements, nowhere in from all those months is there amount showing how hotels were paid, and only a few transactions show how some air tickets were paid. And surprisingly, each time the flights that were paid were 11 tickets. Each time it's 11 tickets. And I think there's 3 or 4 transactions like that to what's it, Travel Fab or Fab Travel or something like that. Now, there's a couple of SWIFT charges. The SWIFT charges is when you do a transaction overseas, the bank charges you for that transaction. But the actual amount of the SWIFT, that doesn't reflect on the statement. So it's gone off from another account. How were these hotels paid? People did travel. People traveled before, when the lockdown ended, and up to, again, when we were hit with the next lockdown, which was in November, December. In that gap in between, people traveled. So she had to pay airlines. She had to pay the hotels. All of those transactions are missing. And then if you look at the bank transactions again, there's a consistent repetition of certain names with huge amounts. One has to ask, who are those names? Why is 300,000 rand going to them, 250,000, 150,000? And then, of course, she's been giving wonderful sums of money to her mum and to her sister. Why is she giving them money? If she was running a loss, and she knew she was running a loss, and she knew she had to catch up in order to pay, she wouldn't be so extravagant. The purchases of Louis Vuitton, the Demac purchases, then there's some other small petty cash amounts. But it's the big amounts that my eyes fell onto, and it's the same names: Halima, Moe, Asif's friend. Those are just some of the names that are sticking in my head. The Ickles, this Qureisha, Dawood got a lot of payments as well. There was 7 or 8 names that keep repeating over and over again, and it's huge amounts. Where has that money gone? I mean, for us as in the Indian community, we know sometimes it's a big scam where you do this habala thing where you give them money here and they put money there for you and something like that. I personally have the opinion that that's what happened. I don't really know much about this finance. I've heard about it. I don't know much about how it works, but the basic understanding is that this is what they do. And I'm pretty sure that she is very comfortable in Turkey. She's very comfortable in the UAE. She definitely has bank accounts there. And some point in time, this large sums of money have been transferred to her. And obviously, whoever's transferring it makes a cut for themselves.
Yes. Now, obviously, the question is, where is Tasneem Musa at this point in time? Because I know, you mentioned that she's got a very strong Turkish connection as well. And also, in terms of her coming forward now, we've heard about the famous interview with the Elodium son, which was one of the interviews. But and you've made it very, very clear in your tweet, where you called her a liar and a thief, and at the same time claiming how naive she is, poor business sense, and all of those. But at the end of the day, this has the hallmarks of a Ponzi scheme, Qureisha.
100%. I mean, look at the statements, bank statements in IT. If you look at the investment repayments, and she does mark it as an investment repayment. Not today, in today's day and age, can you get a repayment on investment of 35,000 rands, 50,000 rands, 20,000 rands? Who pays that amount per month on a repayment? You understand? And I mean, unless of course these people have invested like 30 million or 5 million or something like that, and obviously there isn't. Also, all those names where she's written investment repayment, those names do not reflect on the bank statement showing that they made a deposit into the account for a certain amount of money. So if they did in fact invest in her company, where is the money that they paid into a company? It does not reflect on the bank statement. So where did that money go? Into another bank account? We need to know. I'm pretty sure Taz Musa has more than one bank account. So the public must not fall for the scams, and really, don't fall for her lies. She definitely has an attachment with Turkey. She has a romantic involvement in Turkey, and I'm pretty sure she's sitting there.
Yes. Now, just looking at, I know you've been privy to the bank statement, but also as far as the paper trail is concerned, because this is important, because, this will clearly require a forensic audit, and it would require a lot of in-depth investigation into following the paper trail as far as these transactions are concerned. Now, looking at where we are in South Africa, and as you said, we don't know where she is at this point in time, but I'm sure the authorities, because this has become a big news, it's become a major talking point in the country as well. And as far as the authorities are concerned, and just your thoughts in terms of they obviously need to be alerted, but more importantly, to basically follow up. Because we've heard, as I said, 400 people already coming forward, 32 million rand. We don't know how much more is involved. I've seen one or two comments talking of something in the region of 100 million. Now, this is huge. This is massive, Croatia. And the sooner the authorities act or react to this will be better for everybody as well.
Exactly. I mean, we have to have the NPA. Apparently, when people went to lay their cases, and I have to admit, I'm one of those who've been swindled also, because I also took a package with her, and so when I went to do my case report as well, they said to me that they putting all the cases in one file and it will be handed over to the NPA. So it's a question of the political will of the NPA, how quick they will investigate this. And I mean, it doesn't take much brains, and I'm sure that they can figure this out pretty quick. And if you go to the Reserve Bank to see where were the monies transferred, has money been transferred? Because as a travel agent, and I know this because I've worked in a travel agency before. So when you transfer money out, it has to get a clearance through the Reserve Bank, and that's why you have to provide your invoices, etc., show your clients, give the passport copies, all of those details. It's not just like that where you go and transfer money. And so all that record should be there, and if it's not there, then where has this money gone? And if they just follow those 5, 7, or 9 names on the bank statement, that's only account that we have been given privy to, you'll be able to quickly pick up the main points and trace those accounts, and then ask, why is this money being paid to you? What have you done? What is the transaction, etc.? And then you can take it further than that. But I'm hoping that the people who initially created the group, you've heard about the group that they created, this Hello Darlings recovery group or whatever, that's on Telegram, and they claim that they have cyber experts, etc. I'm hoping that they also are doing their own investigation on the side, because if we wait for South African authorities on our own just to get things done, it's very unlikely that we're going to see justice soon. And I think for the many people, for all of these families who've really lost, it's important that we get justice now, and we get it soon, because everybody's come together. They've brought their paperwork together. They've put the things together. They've done their part. And they've got passport copies, they've got addresses, everything is there. Most of the people have done the homework for the prosecuting authorities. So I don't see why they should drag this and not, follow up quickly.
Well, certainly. Koresha, I'm just going to put you on hold because I see we've got Naima Karolia, who is based in Benoni online, and she is one of the victims. So I'd just like you to listen in as well. Naima, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Naima, assalamu alaikum. I think her line seems to be bad at this point in time. We will try and get hold of Sister Naima. I'm not too sure whether we've got anybody else online. I see I've got Tashreeq. Tashreeq, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Yes, I don't know. Tashreeq, I think your mic is obviously muted as well, so possibly we can't hear you. If you could unmute. Tashreeq, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Walaikum salam. Maaf for that, I was having a bit of connection issues.
No problem. Tashreeq, Jazakallah for joining us, and we do have Croatia as well online as well. Now, I am led to believe that you have been one of the victims, and if you could just give us a brief overview, in terms of how this has impacted on you, or what your experience has been with Hello Darlings.
Yes, shukran. Basically, how the whole incident came about, we started looking around where we wanted to travel last year in October, March. We came across this agency through one of the influencers, whereby they were recommending quite cheap packages. Because it was our first time traveling, we didn't know what to expect or what the prices were actually of traveling abroad. the package that we were interested in was the Greece package, which we were supposed to leave on the 17th of March, which is next week sometime, or in this week. We were supposed to leave. When I messaged through, it was one of the admin assistants that I was working through, and through this admin assistant, they were sending us invoices. We confirmed. I asked them questions as well before I paid in the money, and prior to that, I also asked advice from other people, and they said no, she's a reputable company. We've traveled with her before. I can highly recommend it. 10 out of 10. Definitely go with him. I said okay, no, I'll go on your based on your words and also the research that I have done, and we will take up the risk of going with this company, whereby paid the money in, they sent the invoice, everything seemed so legit. We checked their website, we checked their Instagram, you could see photos of previous people that traveled with him, also recommending them. And we thought, okay, this must be a very good deal for this price, especially two for the price of one. So we took it, and then when it came to December, I requested a refund from the admin assistant, and they didn't respond to me at first. That was whereby I then escalated and I messaged Tasneem Musa directly, and I asked her, look, Tasneem, I'm having an issue here. Can you please assist me? And they said, no, sorry about that. I've been getting a whole influx of refunds. I said, no, it's fine, but please just acknowledge. And she said, no, you can send an email to this email address requesting your refund, send proof of your invoice as well as proof of your proof of payment. I did that, and then she said it'll take about 30 working days. And I said, okay, no, that's fine. I'll wait 30 working days. Days went by. I said, okay, no, it's fine. I'll leave it. As it was getting closer to the 28th of February, that was when the monies were supposed to be paid. I messaged her again and I asked Tasneem what's happening. No one is updating me on with regards to my money. Can you please advise Kanala? She said, no, don't worry about it. I'll personally deal with it, everything. I will see that the money gets paid. You can email my attorneys that I have appointed. The money will be paid into the account. I didn't do that. I just went by her words. And if you are going to pay the money, then by all means, because I trust you with this, by all means, I won't go to the attorneys. I will base it on your word of mouth that you're going to pay the money into my account. That was when news broke that Monday evening, whereby she's gone missing. And I checked the WhatsApps. I tried to message her. I tried calling her. The number didn't ring anymore. On WhatsApp, it was saying the number is no longer on WhatsApp. And I went to a social media. The account was down as well as the website. Also, I sent her numerous emails as well to her email address. No one is responding.
Yes. Now, Croatia, I'm not too sure if Croatia is still online with us. Croatia, are you still with us? No, Croatia. There we go.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Croatia. I think the fact that Tashriq, and I'm not too sure whether you heard what Tashriq had to
Yes,
say.
I have.
And the key issue here is, obviously when he got back and he saw that this thing was not going to happen, the fact of the matter is, she says that paying the money through the attorneys. Now, clearly, the alarm bells at that point in time would have already been ringing, because you've got a straightforward deal, you've got a supplier, and you've got the customer, and says, okay, I'll refund you. But the moment you mention attorneys now and paying through the attorneys, clearly tells us that something at that point in time already there was a major problem.
Yeah, I think it for me also. I felt a bit frustrated by that comment that she made when she said, you can contact the attorneys if you're not sure about it. They will reassure you that it's an amana. She said it was an amana or trust. That was the word that she was using throughout the time. She kept on saying it's an amana and trust, and the attorneys know about this trust, and the funds are in the trust account. That's what she said, and it will be paid out as per the instruction from the attorneys as well. That is one of the things. I think the other thing is people were still not so sure, because there were people getting refunds. And then, and so quite a few people had gotten refunds, and other people who weren't getting the refunds, you didn't know how to reach them, because she had, what really irritated me and perhaps what sent off the alarm bells was she had disabled all the comments. So, the new CEO packages that she was advertising, that one that to America, or the CEO birthday special, something like that, you can go buy 3 and get the 4th couple free or something like that. for all of those packages, she had disabled the comments on Instagram. So you couldn't put in a comment, buy that package. So I think the biggest problem here was that people who were waiting for refunds were not talking to each other. And perhaps that's the biggest mistake. And that's why I feel it's important. And I'm glad that you're doing this. People must come out and start talking, because as soon as people suspect something, you need to start talking to each other so that you can get an understanding of how big the situation is, how bad the situation is and how big the problem is. Had people been talking to each other, those who hadn't gotten the refund, I think we would have realized much faster that there was something going on here.
Yes, let's just take a listen to Naima Karolia, because I'd like her to join us out of Benoni. Naima, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam. So I think we basically all have the same issue here, where we've asked for refunds for our packages, and she kept saying 30 business working days, and every time 30 days are over, we would ask, or myself, I would ask, where is my money? What's happening with my refund? And Tasneem would basically say, no, today, refunds are being done today and tomorrow, and everything should be finalized by tomorrow, which was my last voice note that she sent was on Monday morning, just after 8 a.m., sorry. And she said that Tuesday was the last day of refunds and everything was going to be over and settled. Only to wake up Tuesday morning with an influx of all the social media buzzing that she has now disappeared. So she was definitely dishonest in everything that she's done from the get-go. And I agree with Sister Qureisha that she was lying about everything. All of us involved have different stories, and she was advertising packages up until the day she disappeared, and still collecting money from people from the day up until the day she disappeared. So that already tells us all that her intent was quite clear of conning people for their money.
Yes, Naima, just how much of your money is involved?
29,000 Rand of mine. So I booked a package
29.
with her. Yes, I booked a package with her already in 2020. So she's been sitting with my money since 2020. And, it's funny because Qureisha also mentioned the bank statements. The day before I requested my refund, the very next day, she goes and spends 65,000 Rand in Louis Vuitton. Now, is reckless spending like that someone, does that tell you that this is someone or a business who is in financial problems? I don't think so.
Now, for you to be able to part with your money and to book with Hello Darlings, you must have been convinced. How convincing
I was
was this for you?
definitely convinced. I mean, I saw her adverts through social media, through one of her influencers, actually. And I messaged her directly. And in the beginning, back in 2020, there was no admin team. She was handling all of this by herself. And COVID obviously hit, put a delay on all our travel. And come towards July 2021, that was quite clear that there was all of these other influencers involved. She had a so-called admin team. And I think that's where the problem began. And a lot of people also have mentioned that that was around the time where she started being rude to clients who have paid, who wanted their tickets, who wanted refunds, or who wanted to postpone the trip further.
Did you get to meet her personally?
No, I've never met her personally. And I must say that Tiaz, as a businesswoman and as a CEO of her company, refused to take any phone calls. She refused to take any cell phone calls over normal calls or WhatsApp. She only wanted dealings over text messages, basically.
And at what point did the alarm bell start ringing for you, Naima?
So at the end of December 2021, I inquired about the dates for the Turkey trip, because obviously the trip had to be postponed because of COVID. We were in a fourth wave. The trip was postponed for the third time again. She couldn't give me dates. And then she released the dates, I think early Jan. But then she just refused to give me information, confirmations of tickets, hotels, all of that. And then I immediately asked for a refund. This was already on the 3rd of January, before she went live on Instagram about a whole lot of other people also who requested refunds, and who also mentioned on that video that she and her admin team were extremely rude to clients.
Mm. Now, just looking at where we are at this point in time, you are one that has obviously filed a case against her as well to recover
Yes.
your money. And we heard earlier on about 400 people already, it's 32 million rand. So this is big. And just, I'm sure that you're going to follow this right till the logical end. The key issue here, and talking to Croatia earlier on, in terms of some of her excuses that she's been giving, basically, not being capable of managing a business of this sort, which is one of the issues that obviously has come up as well, where you try and plead that, you didn't have the capacity, and this thing became just so big that I couldn't manage it, and this is the reason why I am in this problem.
So I will definitely see through all of this legal proceedings, the liquidation and whatever, to the end. I mean, realistically, we know chances of us getting a full refund are very slim, but justice needs to be served. So I will definitely be proceeding and seeing through all the legal proceedings until then. However long it may take, it might be draining to a point where some people may even back down. But I think that the message that needs to go out is that people should not back down. Because once we back down, this is how people tend to take advantage of our communities and the people who work so hard and think, we're going to go on this holiday or we're going to invest our money into something that we're going to benefit out of, only to find that it's a big scheme. And the fact that she says this is bad business practice, I honestly do not believe that at all. I mean, it's quite obvious. There's large amounts of money going out of her bank accounts to random people for payments. You cannot tell me that, for example, the Moe that she keeps paying is an investor. We have no proof of that. Okay. And even if that is an investor that needs to be paid, why is that investor being paid multiple payments over such short periods of time? And when your business is running at a loss, I mean, you start your business, it's running at a loss, you don't continue that way. It's business sense, it's logical sense that you've got to change your way to make sure your business is running at a loss. If your business is running at a loss, you're not going to spend 65,000 Rand in Louis Vuitton,
Mm. Well, shukran for that. Naima, I'm going to put you on hold. I just want to bring Croatia back into the discussion because I've seen a comment that Croatia has actually put up talking about the Lodium Sun interview, Croatia, where you're saying that, obviously it tried to distract by focusing on the influencers. They are, by the way, and our focus should not be on them. So it shouldn't be on the influencers. But Croatia, your comment with regard to payment of hotels, airlines, and also at the same time saying that she was not stuck. She had the money with her all the time, Croatia. Yes, I think, we're going to still try and we'll see if Croatia can join us again. But this was a comment that came through from Croatia saying that, remember, she didn't pay any hotels. All airlines have refunded immediately, so she was not stuck. She had the money with her all the time. So was not a case of where she was waiting for refunds coming through from hotels or from airlines and the like as well. And I see we still got more people online. We've got Sister Zakira. Sister Zakira, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam, Inayet, to yourself and the listeners.
Yes, Jazakallah to you as well. And I'm sure that you have similar stories as a victim compared to what the Sheikh mentioned, and also Sister Naima had to say so. And just looking at your experience, Sister Zakira, and, in terms of how this has affected you, how this has actually impacted on you.
Okay, most definitely, Inayet. I think I strongly share the sentiments of Croatia and hundreds of other would-be travelers. I actually booked with Taz, as we all know her, for the trip about a year and a half ago, and obviously due to travel bans, that trip did not materialize. Now, I know of her not via social media influencers or anything of that sort. I know of her through extended family. I know her extended family and friends. However, there was a level of trust when that was built up. And I think, like Nana said, initially when we were querying packages and trips, Taz would be the one to respond to you herself. There was no such thing as an admin team. So obviously building up the trust. Nevertheless, I booked with her back in, I think, July last year. And the trip didn't materialize due to travel bans. And I was promptly refunded my money. So that added another layer of trust. When travel opened, and I think, everyone was just tired of sitting at home and just wanted to get out there and, do a bit of traveling, I rebooked those trips. But in addition to that, my sister had then gotten on, and she had booked as well family members, and we then decided to take the 3 for the CEO special that she had, buy 3 and get the 4th one free or something to that effect. So we booked that, and nothing seemed, amiss, or there were no red flags as such. I was dealing directly with Taz, very little with the admins, because I found them to be, unfortunately, painfully slow with responses. And, the fact that my trip was actually scheduled for around Eid, I wasn't getting proper responses from them. So I dealt with her for the most part. And, she was very forthcoming with information, and always, at any time of the day or night, she would respond to you. So there was a level of comfort, and she was building that trust. And, so I went ahead, booked the trip, only to wake up one morning to find out that she's now disappeared.
Now, I just want to talk a bit about the role of the influencers, because this is important, Sister Zakira, and I'm hoping that Tashriq and Naima are online as well, in terms of the influencers and how they would, the role that they would have actually played in people, booking with Hello Darlings, and providing them with the confidence to book. And I see Sister Naima is online. Sister Naima, if you'd just like to get back on screen, because I just want to ask you about the role of influencers and how much of a role did the influence play in obviously taking certain decisions with regard to your intended travel plans.
So I never knew of Taz or Hello Darlings before until I saw the ads all on social media. And naturally, you open up the post, you see what it's about, and you see that they've also traveled, and they've also had these fantastic holidays, and it's affordable prices, and it was actually advertised as a buy one, get one free. And that's how I learned about everything. So influencers, I think, also have a major role to play in the way Taz advertised her business, if you want to call it a business. And all of these influencers have now distanced themselves from her, have deleted every single post, or most of them have deleted all their posts associating themselves with her. So they've also somewhat I feel they've got to apologize and to explain themselves. You can't just now also sort of go in hiding and deny any association with her, or deny the fact that you benefited out of these adverts that you posted, or these Instagram posts. They went on free trips, and some of them even came out and openly said that for every client that they referred to Hello Darlings, they got 2,500 Rand per referral, in addition to all of the free trips they got. So Taz, in her interview, or it might have been in her 4-page sort of letter or statement, whatever you want to call that, she says that they never benefited financially. They only got a free trip. So that in itself shows you how she has contradicted herself in her interview or in her statement that she's released.
Yes, in fact, I see Tashriq just put up a message saying that Taz had already paid herself a bonus for what? And that is a question that he is raising. And also at the same time, I just want to ask you, as far as the influencers are concerned, and I see Kureisha put up a note as well, which was I was going to ask the same thing, where Kureisha says influencers must make any information they have public. And have any of the influencers been in contact with you, or have they just disappeared, Naima?
They've actually just disappeared. And I mean, the influencer that I saw the adverts on, when I messaged her asking her for information and telling her to come forward with information, I automatically got blocked. And I find that a lot of these influencers are doing this to the people who are actually reaching out to them to try and get any sort of information about Tia's whereabouts and, the dealings with them. And if they knew it was a Ponzi scheme, was this a legitimate business, they just block you. So they themselves, I don't know if this is their mechanism of defense or if they just want to, avoid everything and act like this has not happened and they weren't involved. So someone needs to take responsibility apart from Tia's. If you advertising and if you're promoting and if you're financially and otherwise benefiting off of these Instagram posts that you're posting up for people to see, you need to at least take responsibility.
The key question here is now who is going to take responsibility, because Tez is gone into hiding and nobody knows where she is at this point in time.
Exactly.
And, Qureisha has also alluded to some of the issues with regard to the monies and the refunds and the fact that she didn't get any, she wasn't refunded by the hotels. She didn't need to be refunded by the airlines. So basically that money is sitting somewhere, that money is gone, that money is sitting somewhere. And from what Qureisha has mentioned, also in terms of the bank statements and what the bank statements are revealing, and there are certain common names that keep on cropping up on the bank statements where certain monies have been paid. And the question is, where are those people as well at this point in time?
That's what we also would like to know. And I think with involving SARS, this will probe further investigations and allow all of these people to be investigated. I mean, large sums of money cannot be sent to people because you loaned money. How much money did you loan? I mean, money is going in and out of your bank account for various reasons. And you're not running a successful business. You're claiming your business is running at a loss. So if your business is running at a loss, why are all these payments happening?
And I think the bottom line is, and I'm just looking at one of the comments that has come through saying that, they knew that the business was crumbling and they continued. And this is where the problem comes in.
And even in her 4-page letter that she released, she herself has mentioned that these influencers knew she was in a financial difficulty and was strong-arming her. Her exact words were, they were strong-arming her into refunding their friends and family first. So the influencers knew exactly what was going on. And Tias herself in that statement has mentioned it. So it's on record. She has officially let that statement out, but she has put it out there that they have strong-armed her into getting their friends and family refunds done first.
I think one of the biggest concerns for all the victims at this point in time is if she goes into liquidation. And, this is where there would be very little hope of people actually recovering their money. And, and also in terms of the investigation, the urgency that is required on the part of the National Prosecuting Authority, the powers that be, in terms of making sure that they investigate with a sense of urgency, proper forensic audits are done, the paper trail is being followed as far as the bank accounts are concerned, the money's coming in, money's moving out, all of that. And I'm sure, yourself, Naima, and all the other victims would be very, very interested in making sure that, this is being done speedily, but also efficiently.
Yes, absolutely. Look, there are so many people who are still even struggling to open up cases. So the numbers that we have are not even finalized. I mean, there's still cases that are still being opened. And it's a long process, I think, that our admin team also has into getting all of this information together, compiling all of the information. And the NPA will eventually have to also start working on this immediately or as fast as they can once all of this has been finalized and once majority of the cases has been open. We're also encouraging people who still have not opened up any cases to come forward, open up their cases, and get the process done. It's not just South Africa. We know that there are people in Dubai that have also been scammed under her company, Fem Voyages in Dubai. So if the message gets out there and if people are aware that this is what happened, they can come forward, open up their cases, and authorities in the various countries, whether it's Turkey or Dubai, can get involved and they can also probe this matter further.
Naima, what level of support is being provided to the victims at this point in time?
At this point, we've got a legal team that has been in contact with our admin team that has been advising us on the process of the whole liquidation and criminal fraud cases that have been opened. So we do have a legal support or legal advice at this moment. But I think our major focus right now is to sort of get the liquidation thing sorted out and just to make sure we know what happens in the event of a formal liquidation and everyone knows what their standing is in that instance.
Obviously, this will get very, very technical and very legal by the sound of things, and from what you are describing. But the key issue here is, like you mentioned, you've got an admin team, there is a legal team. So I suppose, with the victims as well, to try and provide them with the best possible advice and so that, at the end of the day, they see justice being served, because this is exactly what it is, because this is what everybody wants, is they want to see justice being served, but also at the same time, cares being brought to book.
Absolutely. And wherever she is, she claims that she and her family have been receiving death threats, but she's the one that put her family in that line of danger, if it even is true. We can't say that it's true or we can't say it's not. It's just speculation at this point. But if your family is being threatened, naturally you would go to find help, go to legal authorities, And at this point, I think that she is now in hiding and not sort of hiding for fear of her life. She is in hiding because she knows what she has done is wrong. She needs to come forward. She is South African. She needs to face the music and come into this country, wherever she is. If she's not in the country, come forward, give herself over to authorities, and do this the legal way. The longer she hides herself, I think it's only going to get more worse. She makes herself look extremely guilty by her actions, and it's high time she actually takes full responsibility and not just send out lame letters to Lodium Sun and do what I wouldn't call the interview she done with Lodium Sun an interview. That was obviously quite biased in my opinion. That wasn't, investigative journalism or journalism in the slightest bit. So she needs to come forward and she needs to take responsibility, and she should avoid, or she should not avoid interviews with the right people. Yusuf Abramji wanted to do an interview with her to clear the air, to get some answers to the questions and much needed answers, especially to the victims who she's so sorry about taking their money and whatever. But if you're sorry, come forward, do the interview, let us hear your side of the story. Answer our questions. Why hide?
Yes.
If you have nothing to hide, come forward. Do the interviews.
Well, Neymar, we trust and hope that, at the end of the day, this obviously the process will have to go through. The legal process will have, one will have to follow it through to its logical conclusion. But I'm just looking at some of the comments that have come through as well. And I know people are up in arms, and also to the extent talking about the influencers as well, that they also need to be held responsible. They need to be held accountable. So it's not only about Tez, it's about more than just Tez. And in fact, I'm just looking at one said that she already said in another interview that she is going into liquidation in South Africa. Also, she said that the Dubai entity has got nothing to do with South Africa. She's mentioned this a few times in the interview. So, whether we're talking about Dubai, whether we're talking about Turkey, we're talking about South Africa, the bottom line is people have been scammed. And that is paramount, and it's pointless. It's pointless, playing around with sentiments and saying whether it's Dubai or South Africa or whatever it is. Like you mentioned, people in Dubai have been scammed. People in South Africa have been scammed as well.
Yes, absolutely. The point of the matter is she scammed people. There's no doubt, irrespective of which country she's done it in. It happened.
Well, Neymar, we thank you, obviously, coming on, talking to us, and sharing what you have with us this evening here on Salam Media. And I'm sure this is not the end of it. This is still going to be huge. It's going to be massive. I'm going to ask Qureisha actually just for some final comments, because she's listened to you. She's listened to some of the other people as well. Qureisha, just from what listening to Naima, and obviously this is not going to go away in a hurry. There's still a lot more to unpack. There's still a lot more to uncover. And the key issue here is she needs to come out in the open. She needs to come clean.
Yeah, I think what I want to capture here very quickly, is that the liquidation is a cop-out. It's a quick way of trying to diffuse the problem. One has to ask, what assets does she really have? You know, that she's very keen to go into liquidation. So you need to ask, what assets does she have, and what are the people actually going to recover? That hasn't been asked. The thing that I want to just come back to tonight, which I think is very important, and is the question that people are not really focusing on. She says that the business ran into trouble, but her business was not so big by 2020. It only got big, post 2020 and in this last period per se. And then, of course, there was COVID. So people who had paid her monies, she couldn't have paid that over and said she lost the money because there was no travel. So if there was no travel, there was no expense incurred, there was no loss incurred. So how does she then justify that she ran into a loss? You understand? We're not going back that way. We need to trace those steps back. And all of this December money in October, November, December, January, February, all of these people did not travel. And it was a travel ban that hit. And the travel fraternity has been extremely ethical. They have refunded, hotels have refunded monies, airlines have refunded monies. So there was no expense incurred that way also. So if all of those, if she had, and I don't think she had paid over any monies, but if she had paid the hotels and she had paid the airlines, the bottom line is passengers did not travel. The majority of passengers did not travel. For her to say that she ran into a phenomenal loss of 32 million or whatever million it is, the majority did not travel. So that money is still, or was still, sitting with her. So the question there is that when and where did she run into a loss? We need to ask her that. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we need to also recognize that, she said that she was marketing at a loss. If she was marketing at a loss, why was she paying the influencers? And why was she still marketing at a loss after her very first trip, when she knew that she ran into a loss at that time? So her story is full of holes. There's lots of lies. And again, I just like to reiterate, everybody must do everything in their power to put pressure on the authorities, right to the embassies, to the Turkish embassy, to the UAE embassy, right to the South African authorities, and say that, you know what, you need to get hold of this woman. It's not going to be difficult to find her. We have given you all the information. You have all the details. 400 cases is more than enough to make a start. You don't have to wait for 600. 400 cases is more than enough for you to make a start. You need to start finding her, locating her, and you simply locate her through her last point of travel or point of entry. Follow her passport trail. It's not difficult. It's a cyber age today. I can't understand why they haven't got to that point yet.
Well, exactly. In fact, this was exactly the point I was going to make, that if she's left the country, there obviously there is there are checks and balances along the way in terms of her passport, unless you're traveling under a different name, under a different passport. But at the end of the day, I think the sooner they locate her, the better it is, because as I can see, Qureisha, you feel very, very strongly, and your comments obviously have come extremely strong. But I think rightfully so, because just listening to all the victims at this point in time, really, this type of behavior is not on. And any excuse, whether it's bad business practice, whether you've been running your business at a loss, but you cannot run your business at a loss for so long. I mean, at the end of the day, if you are a business person, you are a businesswoman, and you are a professional businesswoman, you are using professional influencers, all these type of people, at the end of the day, nothing adds up. And I think this, for me, is absolutely important, because if nothing adds up, it just boils down to one thing. And as you mentioned, you said some sort of a Ponzi scheme, and a Ponzi scheme of note. And the sooner we get to the bottom of this, the sooner she comes out in the open, the sooner she is brought to book, the better it is going to be for everybody.
Definitely. And I mean, Inayet, we just need to keep coming back to that point. People did not travel. If people did not travel, there were no expenses incurred. That means that there were no losses incurred to her. So that's the question is then, what losses is she talking about? What bad business is she talking about? Because the passengers didn't travel.
Well, Qureisha, Jazakallah for that, coming on and spending the last hour in our company at Salam Media. And also we thank all the other victims that came on this evening talking to us and sharing their side of the story. And as I mentioned, this is not going to end in a hurry. I'm sure there is going to be a follow-up as we get a lot more information, as we get a lot more clarity on what is happening or what has happened, and also when Tez Musa actually surfaces finally. And we definitely will keep you informed. We will keep you posted on any updates that we here at Salam Media get. We're going to go for a quick break. The time is just gone 5 minutes past 8. We come back and we are going to be focusing on Umrah and Ramadan 2 weeks from now. And we will be talking with the South African Muslim Travel Organization. When I come back, we'll be joined by Ismail Ola and amongst Siddiq Skirkam, amongst others.